Dear friends, yes, Sir. I'm Dr. David, and this year I just turned 60. And if there's one thing I've learned after more than 30 years in medicine, it's this. The human body is always whispering to us. The question is whether we choose to listen. Many of my patients come to my office with worried eyes holding lab results that show numbers higher than they expected. They say, "Doctor, I don't understand why my blood sugar is always high in the morning. I don't eat sweets, I don't drink soda, but my numbers just won't go down." And I often smile, set the paper aside, and ask them one simple question. Have you ever felt like your body is trying to tell you something? Because in truth, blood sugar isn't just a number, it's the body's language. When your blood sugar rises, it's your body's way of sending a signal telling you that your energy system is out of balance. It's like when the oil light in your car turns on, it's not there to scare you, but to remind you to stop, check, and understand what's happening inside. I still remember an old patient named George, 67 years old, a retired carpenter. He said, "I don't feel sick, doctor. It's just that lately I've been thirsty all the time, waking up several times at night to use the bathroom and feeling more tired in the mornings." When we ran his tests, his blood sugar was 180. He looked at me and smiled softly. "I just thought I was getting old." You see, we often blame everything on age, the fatigue, the thirst, the blurry vision, the restless nights. But sometimes it's not just age. It's your body quietly trying to warn you of a deeper imbalance, often diabetes. What I want to share today isn't about cold numbers or complicated medical terms. It's about awareness, about being proactive, about how we can still live a healthy, joyful life, even with this condition. Because I truly believe when we understand our body, we stop being afraid of it. And that understanding, not expensive medicine, has been the most powerful healing tool I've ever seen in all my years of practice. So if you're watching this video right now, maybe with a bit of worry, maybe trying every day to keep your sugar steady, stay with me for a few minutes. We'll explore not just what diabetes is, but what your body is trying to tell you gently, wisely, and with care. There's something about modern medicine that both amazes me and humbles me, and that's the complexity and the mystery of the human immune system. Normally, our immune system is like a loyal army, always ready to defend us against bacteria, viruses, and anything foreign that enters the body. But sometimes, for reasons we don't fully understand, maybe genetics, maybe the environment, or maybe just a small glitch in the system, that same army turns against its own home. That's what happens in type 1 diabetes. I remember a young man named Michael, just 18 years old when I first met him. He walked into my office, thin and exhausted, hands trembling as he held his test results. His blood sugar was over 300 mdl. He said, "I don't get it, doctor. I don't eat sweets. I play sports. Why is this happening?" I looked at him and gently explained, "Michael, your body hasn't done anything wrong. It's just that your immune system got confused and started attacking the cells in your pancreas that make insulin." I saw the confusion in his eyes and I understood. How could someone so young accept that his own body was turning against itself? That's what makes type 1 diabetes so unique. It's not caused by food or by weight. It's the result of an autoimmune mistake. The beta cells, those little factories that produce insulin, get attacked, destroyed, and fall silent. Eventually, insulin disappears and glucose starts piling up in the blood like a river that stopped flowing. The body, surrounded by food, suddenly feels starved for energy. Cells cry out for glucose. The liver tries to help by breaking down fat, and that's when ketones appear, turning the blood acidic. The person starts feeling thirsty, losing weight rapidly, breathing with a fruity odor. Classic signs of diabetic ketoacidosis, a dangerous condition if not treated in time. I've seen people hospitalized after just a few days without insulin. But I've also seen others once stabilize, live, strong, active, and even inspire those around them. That's what I want to emphasize. Type 1 isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one built on discipline, understanding, and love for your own body. Because when you learn how to take insulin properly, eat mindfully, move regularly, and listen to your body, you don't just control your disease, you reclaim your life. In the end, what matters most isn't what illness you have, but how you choose to live with it. Dear friends, when people hear the word diabetes, they often think of type 1, when the body no longer produces insulin. But in reality, most of the people I meet, especially those over 50, are living with type 2 diabetes. It's a different story, quieter, more persistent, and sometimes even more dangerous because it hides in silence. I often compare type 2 diabetes to a long-term relationship between the body and insulin, where both are still there, but they no longer listen to each other like they once did. Insulin is still being made, but the cells no longer open their doors to let it in. Over time, the body becomes numb to the familiar signal. We call this insulin resistance. One of my patients, Margaret, 62, once said during her first visit, "Doctor, I don't eat much. I just sit a lot." We both laughed, but it was the kind of laughter that hides a little sadness. Because it's the sitting a lot, the lack of movement, constant stress, short sleep, and late dinners that gradually made her body stop listening to insulin. I explained to her, "Margaret, it's not that you're eating too much sugar, it's that your body can't use it effectively anymore." And that's what I want to share with you today. Type 2 diabetes is not your fault. It's the result of a fast-paced modern lifestyle while our bodies were designed for walking, gardening, moving, and resting on time, not sitting for hours under fluorescent lights. When cells become resistant to insulin, the pancreas tries to shout louder, producing even more insulin to compensate. At first, things seem fine, blood sugar stays within range, and we think we're healthy. But over time, the pancreas gets tired, beta cells wear out, and blood sugar starts to rise slowly, silently but surely. I remember Margaret came back 6 months later. She said, "Doctor, I started walking every morning, cut down on sweets, went to bed earlier, and my sugar levels dropped a lot." I smiled at her not because her numbers looked better, but because she had regained her faith, the belief that she could take charge of her health at any age. You see, type 2 isn't a sentence, it's a gentle reminder from your body. A reminder that it's time to slow down, listen more carefully, and love yourself a little better. Because when you change, even with one walk, one healthy meal, or one good night's sleep, your body responds with healing. In the next part, I want to talk about the complications of diabetes, something many people fear, but something we can absolutely prevent if we understand it and act in time. There's one thing I always tell my patients. The body never betrays you. It's only trying to tell you that something's not right. With diabetes, what's truly dangerous isn't high blood sugar. It's the silence. The body keeps working. You eat, you move, you smile, but inside tiny blood vessels, nerves, and cells are slowly being damaged. I once had a patient, Eleanor, 68, who came to me with a small sore on her toe. Just a tiny cut, but it hadn't healed in 3 months. When I checked, her blood sugar was around 200, and the nerves in her feet had almost lost all sensation. She didn't even know she had type 2 diabetes for years. I looked at her wound and remembered so many others people who lost their vision to retinopathy, their kidneys to dialysis, or the feeling in their legs, all because of prolonged high blood sugar. It all begins in silence. I often tell my patients, diabetes is like a small water leak in your house. At first you don't hear it, but one day the walls start to dampen, the paint peels, and the foundation weakens. That's how high blood sugar quietly erodes the body. Tiny vessels thicken and harden, making blood flow sluggish. In the eyes, it causes retinopathy, blindness. In the kidneys, nephropathy, kidney failure. In the nerves, neuropathy, numbness, burning, and pain in the hands and feet. And in the heart, the consequences are even greater. Plaques form in the arteries, leading to heart attacks and strokes. That's why people with diabetes have twice the risk of dying from heart disease compared to others. I remember a man named Robert, 70, who told me after a heart attack, "I wish I had cared for my health sooner. I thought taking medicine was enough." His words stayed with me. Because medicine is only a temporary crutch. What truly saves us are our daily habits. A balanced meal, a 30-minute walk, a full night's sleep, a regular checkup, those small acts can completely change the course of this disease. You know, I've met many people in their 60s who were terrified when they first learned they had diabetes. But just a few months later, after changing their habits, eating better, walking daily, sleeping regularly, they didn't just get healthier. Their eyes shone brighter. Their smiles returned. They stopped living in fear and started living with awareness and intention. So I want you to remember this. Your body always has the ability to heal if you give it the chance. Every step you take, every healthy meal, every restful night, they are all natural medicines. No prescription needed, yet powerful enough to save your life. In the next part, I'll share stories of overcoming diabetes, not just through medication, but through understanding self-love and the belief that it's never too late to begin again. Dear friends, after many years as a doctor, I've come to realize something truly miraculous. The human body has an incredible ability to heal if we give it the chance. Many people believe that once they're diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, there's nothing they can do but take medication for the rest of their lives. But the truth is, we can manage it, even reverse it, if we learn to live with our body, not against it. Let me tell you about Harold, a 72-year-old man who spent over 40 years as a truck driver. When he first came to see me, his HbA1c was 8.4, quite high. He looked at me and said, "Doctor, I don't want to take more pills. I want to find my body again." So we started small, and I've always believed every great journey begins with one small change. The first step was changing how he ate. I didn't tell him to go on a strict diet or cut out all carbs. I simply said, Harold, make your plate more colorful. He began adding greens, nuts, fish, beans, and low-sugar fruits. Instead of rushing through meals, he learned to eat, slowly chew well, and actually taste his food. 3 months later, he'd lost 13 pounds and his morning blood sugar dropped from 150 to 110. He told me during a checkup, I never thought eating slowly could change the way I feel about life. The second step was movement. No gym, no fancy equipment. I told him, just walk, 30 minutes a day enough to talk without losing your breath. And he did. Every morning he walked around the block, sometimes with his wife of 68. At first just a few hundred yards, then half a mile, then 1 mile. His body began to respond steadier, heartbeat deeper, sleep, lighter mood. The third step was rest and stress. Few people realize that poor sleep, anxiety, and stress can raise blood sugar. When we're tense, the body releases cortisol, a hormone that tells the liver to make more glucose. So I taught Harold to take deep breaths before bed, limit negative news, and thank his body each morning. It may sound simple, but gratitude and calm are medicines no pharmacy can sell. After 3 months, Harold's new lab results moved me deeply. His HbA1c had dropped to 6.1. He no longer needed medication, just his balanced meals, daily walks, and peaceful sleep. He smiled gently and said, Doctor, I didn't just control my diabetes, I found faith again. Faith that I can still change even at 70. That sentence to me was worth more than any medical breakthrough. Because what I believe and what I want you to remember is this. Type 2 diabetes is not the end. It's an invitation to start living more fully. When you change the way you eat, the way you rest, and the way you think, you don't just heal the body, you heal the soul. The body doesn't need miracles, it just needs your attention, your respect, and your patience. In the next part, I want to talk about something deeper. The power of understanding and faith, because those two things are the foundation for every long-term recovery. Dear friends, I believe there are two things that help people overcome almost any illness: understanding and faith. And if you've ever sat across from me in the clinic, you'd know I always start every consultation with one simple question. Do you believe your body can heal? Most patients pause and say, I'm not sure, doctor. I've lived with this for so many years. And I always respond with a smile. If you don't believe your body can change, no medicine on earth will be strong enough to make it happen. I've met hundreds of people living with diabetes. Some have been on insulin for 10 years. Some were so discouraged they had given up hope. But what separates those who improve from those who stay stuck isn't age or how bad their sugar is, it's their attitude. A person who believes they can get better lives differently. They eat differently, they think differently. They don't eat out of fear, they eat out of gratitude. They don't exercise out of obligation, they move to give energy back to themselves. And the amazing thing is that attitude literally changes the physiology of the body. Science calls it the psychophysiological effect. When you trust, relax, and practice gratitude, your brain lowers cortisol, the stress hormone, and increases serotonin and endorphins, the peace chemicals. This balance strengthens your immune system and improves blood sugar control. In a way, faith and inner peace act like your body's own natural insulin, something no company can bottle. I'll never forget Susan, 65, a woman who had been through so much in life. When we first met, she told me, I don't believe I can get better anymore, doctor. Every morning feels like a battle. I told her, then start with gratitude. Each morning, choose one thing about your body to thank. 3 months later, she came back, her eyes brighter, her voice lighter. She said, I started thanking my legs for still walking, my hands for still cooking for my husband. And strangely, I feel healthier. I smiled. Because what she felt wasn't an illusion, it was her body responding to gratitude with healing. After 60 years on this earth, I've learned something profound. The body cannot be healthy if the soul is afraid. Fear makes us shrink. It tightens blood vessels, shortens breath, quickens the heart, and disease only grows. But when you replace fear with faith, understanding, and gratitude, the body finds its balance again. This isn't philosophy. I've seen it happen in the eyes and the smiles and the strength of my patients over 50. So today I want to leave you with this. Don't fear diabetes. See it as a teacher, a reminder to slow down, to be thankful, and to love yourself more. When you understand, you stop being afraid. When you believe, your body begins to heal. In the next part, I'll share how to maintain health for life, how to keep good habits live and balanced, and find joy every day, even while living with diabetes. My dear friends, many people ask me, Doctor, what's the hardest part about managing diabetes? I often smile and reply, it's not the diet, it's not the medication, it's keeping good habits long enough for them to become a natural part of your life. That's the truth. We all start with good intentions. I'll walk every morning. I'll eat healthier, I'll go to bed earlier. But after a few weeks, work weather and emotions get in the way. And we find ourselves back at square one, a little disappointed, a little less confident. I've met so many patients like that. And what I've learned is this: the problem isn't weak willpower, it's how we build habits. I remember one of my patients, Raymond, 69 years old. He said, "Doctor, I've tried to diet 10 times and I fail every single time." I asked, "Why do you think that happens?" He sighed, "Because I try to change everything overnight." I smiled. That's exactly the problem, Raymond. The human body doesn't need a revolution, it needs patience and kindness. So we started again, step by step. Week 1, he just replaced soda with water. Week 2, he added a 10-minute walk after dinner. Week 3, he turned off the TV 15 minutes earlier to sleep on time. 3 months later, his blood sugar dropped, he slept better, and most importantly, he no longer felt forced. He said, "Now I don't have to try anymore. It's just part of my life." You see, the secret to lasting health lies in consistency, not perfection. A small step repeated often enough becomes a path. Many people think diabetes is only about diet, but in truth, lifestyle is the foundation. No medicine can replace deep sleep, a calm mind, or a peaceful heart. When you keep healthy habits every day, your body becomes smarter. The liver works in harmony, insulin stabilizes, blood pressure softens, and your mood becomes lighter. The body doesn't need miracles, it needs consistency. I often tell my patients, what matters isn't how fast you go, but how far you can go. Don't pressure yourself. If you walk 10 minutes today, try 12 tomorrow. If you eat one healthy meal today, add one more tomorrow. Those tiny changes fueled by patience create miracles. Imagine this: a year has 365 days. If you improve just 1% each day by the end of the year, you'll be 37 times better than when you started. Not because of medicine, but because you didn't give up. Health doesn't come from speed. It comes from small acts repeated with patience and love. In the next part, I'll share with you a new perspective about aging peace and how to live fully even with diabetes. A part I call turning 50 isn't the end. It's the beginning of a body that finally speaks to you. My dear friends, someone once told me, 50 is when the body begins to decline. I smiled and replied, no, 50 is when the body finally starts talking to you clearly. When we're young, our body tolerates so much rushed meals, sleepless nights, long work days without complaint. But after 50, it starts whispering, slow down a little. If we listen, that's a gift. If we ignore it, it might become a warning. I've met many people who reach 50 filled with fear of illness, weakness, or time itself. But I've also met many at 60, 70, healthy, joyful, full of energy, not because they're wealthy, but because they love themselves the right way. I remember Eleanor, the woman with diabetes and a stubborn foot ulcer I mentioned earlier. A year later, when I saw her again, she wasn't bandaged anymore. She was smiling, holding a small bouquet of flowers. She said, "Doctor, I'm no longer afraid of illness. I'm just afraid of forgetting to live." That sentence silenced me, because sometimes it's fear, not disease, that weakens us. My friends, 50, 60, 70, these aren't endings. They are new beginnings, a time to live slower, eat slower, breathe deeper, and be grateful for every heartbeat still echoing in your chest. Diabetes or any chronic illness doesn't come to steal joy. It comes to teach us to cherish the small things. A home-cooked meal, a pain-free morning, a warm hug from someone you love. I once told a patient, your blood sugar may be high, but your spirit shouldn't be low. And that remains true today. True health isn't only in your lab numbers. It's in how you feel when you wake up in the morning. If you feel peace, if you still have something to love and care for, then you are already healthier than most. My dear friends, if you've stayed with me until this moment, then I believe something has shifted within you. Maybe it's a small spark, a quiet belief that your health is still within reach. And I want to tell you this, you don't need to wait for perfection to begin. You just need to begin today, even in the smallest way. It could be a slow walk around the house, a glass of warm water instead of soda, or going to bed 30 minutes earlier. Those small, simple acts, they're the first bricks of lasting health. I hope that after watching this video, you'll do something kind for your body today. Not because a doctor said so, but because you deserve to be healthy, happy, and free in your own body. And if my words resonate with you, please subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone you care about, because who knows, a simple video like this might just change someone's life. Let's build a community together, where everyone after 50 learns to live healthy, live deeply, and live joyfully. I'm Dr. David, and I want to remind you one more time, your body is the greatest gift you've ever been given. Cherish it starting today.